What's up, guys, and welcome to another episode of the Powerhouse Mentality podcast. I am your host. I'm Caitlin Kenneth Smith. And on today's episode, we're going to do a little throwback because it's been a while since I've done one of these episodes. But you know what? I was thinking about what topic I wanted to speak about tonight. And I've had a little bit of a hectic day. Did some training in the morning. I'm on a deload week, so it's a little bit less than I typically would. But, trusting the process. I had a PT session, so we went out there. It's about an hour drive for us one way, so then an hour there, an hour back. Me and Stone went and delivered some packages for the Powerhouse Mentality, dropped them off at the UPS store. We went to Publix, got some groceries. I cooked some chicken. And hack, for those of you who say you don't have time to meal prep or don't have time to fitness or don't have time for all this shit, first of all, you don't find the time, you have to make the time, because you're not just going to hope and wish that things work out without changing anything, because that's ridiculous. That's insanity. So what I typically do when I'm meal prepping, I will take my chicken, for example, throw it on the Traeger, and then I went for a run, or I go for a walk, or I do my training. I do whatever I have programmed. And then say I'm doing a Metcon, it's a 30-minute Metcon, 40-minute Metcon. By the time I'm done, chicken's almost done or chicken's ready, and I can just pull it off the grill, throw it in a Tupperware, and let it cool on the counter while I'm doing the rest of my training. Super easy, super efficient, super effective. And even if you're not training at home, you could do this in any area of your life, right? For example, say you're helping your kids out with homework. Cool. Let me just throw the chicken in the oven while I'm helping them with that. By the time we're done, boom, done. Just set a timer so that you don't burn it. But that was just me going off on a little bit of a tangent, and we're allowed to do that because this is the podcast, and the podcast, it's long-form content. So really, it's me talking about things that are going through my head and going on in my life that are going to help you and add value to your life. Plus, I like to throw some entertainment in there as well because I want you guys to see that I'm not just a robot. I'm a human being as well, and I do random human being stuff. So let's talk about me being super vulnerable and being a super human being this morning. And by superhuman being, I mean being normal and being fucking vulnerable and relatable. So, like I said, we're doing a throwback episode. And what I mean by that is it's been a while since I've done a lessons from training episode. So if you're new here, I've done many, many episodes where I speak about lessons that I've learned throughout training, because I truly believe that the more adversity that I face in the gym, the more pain, the more suffering that I intentionally seek through the gym and through training, the more adversity and struggle and pain that I'm able to overcome in all areas of my life, inside and outside of the gym. That's why one of the main core values of the Powerhouse Mentality is to seek intentional discomfort. Because when you seek intentional discomfort, your body and your mind start to learn how it can overcome it when it's not intentional. When things pop up in life, when life gets in the way, you're able to overcome those things and come out stronger on the other side. But the lesson from training comes from this morning's training session. Now, like I mentioned, I'm on a deload week. So a deload week is a week that you take as an athlete in order to reduce intensity, reduce volume, to help facilitate recovery, so you can usually come back stronger the next week. You typically want to do this every 8 to 12 weeks, depending on the person. Some people can handle longer bouts without doing it, but if you're dealing with a lot of injuries, illnesses, things like that, maybe it's time to take a deload week. It's more for the central nervous system more than anything. So I've been dealing with this hip and back injury since June. And it flared up a couple weeks ago pretty badly, to the point where my coach was like, you know what, let's take a deload week. Let's let off the gas a little bit, give your body a little bit more time to recover, hopefully facilitate a little bit of extra love and care to the body. And deload weeks are tough for me mentally because a lot of the times, coach will give you percentages to hit, like do 6x2 power snatches at 50%. And you're like, I can do much more than 50%, but you have to trust the process. There's a purpose to a deload week. So if anybody out there is ever on a deload week, or if your coach ever programs you something, just fucking do it. Just listen to it, trust the process, understand that there is a purpose to everything that you're doing. And just because I'm on a deload week doesn't mean that I can't have intent and intensity and effort towards the things that I am doing. So this morning, even though it was a deload week, today is Friday, and Friday is Metcon Friday. So over the past 2 months, I've been doing 2 to 3 Metcons every single Friday with the intent for them to be similar to competition, to get the mind and the body prepared to understand how it feels like to be put in a situation where you're giving all-out effort, refueling, and then giving another all-out effort. Because I don't think a lot of people realize it, but doing a CrossFit competition is a lot different from going to a CrossFit class. There's a lot of adrenaline involved, and you're putting out a lot higher effort than you typically would if you were in a class setting or even in your garage or training or whatever you're doing. And you can say to yourself, oh, well, I train really hard. And that's what I say to myself. I train really fucking hard, and I do. But when you're in a competition and when your in full intent is to bury yourself and get the best time possible, it's very different. Very different how it impacts the central nervous system, very different on how it impacts the mind. So it's important to test out those situations, and that's exactly what we've been doing over the past couple of months. So even though it was a deload week, today is still Metcon Friday. Now, the Metcons were a little bit lower intensity, lower volume than they typically would be, but they were still Metcon Friday. So there were 2 Metcons involved today instead of 3 because deload week, but those 2 were, number 1 was an AMRAP of 15 minutes, 50 double unders, 6 hang dual dumbbell clean and jerks at 35 pounds, 50-foot walking lunges with those 35-pound dumbbells, and then 3 6, 9, 12 ascending burpee chest to bar pull-ups. So first round you do 3, next round you do 6, 9, 12. You'd increase the burpee chest to bar pull-ups by 3 reps every single round for 15 minutes. So you're trying to get as many rounds as possible. Now, I'll admit, going into this training session and coming off of yesterday, I've been in a weird headspace. I've been overly anxious. I've almost been having a little bit of like PTSD moments. And I'm not diagnosing myself with PTSD because I don't have PTSD. I've had it in the past, but I definitely don't have it now. That's a serious thing, right? But what I'm trying to allow you to understand is kind of how I feel. It's like a PTSD tendency, we'll say, where I'll feel a little bit of a pull in my hip, or my back starts to feel a little bit tight or fatigued, and I almost start to panic. Or I sit back on a bench press and I feel something, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Did I hurt my back? Did I throw out my back? Did I hurt my hip again? Because what happened to me 2 weeks ago when I popped my back and it felt like my whole back exploded, and it was horrible. I went to the PT and he helped me tremendously, but it still hasn't felt 100%. And I've been dealing with these issues since beginning of July. So I think I'm good and then I'm not. And it's scary. So to this point, I'll feel a little bit of a pull and I start to get super anxious and even on the verge of a panic attack. And I've been on the verge of a panic attack for like the past 2 days. And that's me being completely honest with you guys. And that's what I will always share is honesty on the journey, because this episode is called The Reality of the Journey. And the reality of the journey is that it's never going to be perfect. You're going to fail. It's going to hurt. You're going to question yourself. You're going to think you're failing. You're going to think you're not good enough. You're going to think, why am I even trying? But as long as you don't quit and you keep moving, that's what matters. Because those feelings are normal. At the beginning of this week and the beginning of last week, when the flare-up first occurred, I was on my garage floor, literally pleading, crying, praying to God while I was doing mobility and stretching. And that's a moment of weakness that I didn't even share with my husband, that I didn't even think I'd share here. But you know what? It just came out. And it's not something I'm proud of, but it's also not something I'm ashamed of, because I'm a human being. I'm allowed to show emotions, and it's better to show the emotions and to process them. And the important thing to remember here is that most people, when they're put in these situations, they stay stuck in those situations. So last week when I was in the garage praying to God, asking why is this happening? Please just let me have relief from this. Let this all stop. Let the pain stop. Let me be able to be back to where I was. Why is this happening? I didn't stay there. I was there for a moment, and then I flipped my switch. I flipped my perspective, and I said, well, you know what? This sucks. I'm not going to ignore the fact that this sucks and this is painful, and I just want to erase this, but I can't. I can't. So what can I do? What can I learn from this experience? What can I get out of this? Because this is a teaching moment for me. Pain, adversity, suffering, I say it all the time, those are our greatest teachers. But most of us don't want to listen to those teachers because we just want to try to push them away. And most of us stay stuck in that moment where we're asking, why is this happening to me? And we become a victim of our own circumstances. And we don't take action because, well, this is happening to me, so I can't do it. I could easily have said when I injured my back, like, I can't train, I can't do this, I might as well not even eat well, I might as well fuel my body with the comfort foods that make me feel nice inside. But that's neglect to self. And I have enough self-respect to myself to fuel my body with the foods that it needs to feel its best, to perform at its best, to be the most focused I can be. Not just for myself and my training, but for my husband, for my clients, for my business. And I refuse to stay stuck in a place where I'm pleading to God saying, why me? Because I used to be that person. But I'm allowed to go back there as long as I don't stay stuck. And the same goes for you. You're allowed to have moments of weakness because you're a human being. But you have to flip that switch and take action. So this morning I went into my training session super anxious, just feeling on edge, just not feeling right mentally. Like almost like this hopelessness or this doom feeling. And if you've ever had a panic attack or an anxiety attack, then you kind of probably know what I'm saying. You feel like this impending doom and like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And it's scary. And the best thing to do in that situation is to do double unders. Kidding. It's probably the worst thing because double unders is already one of those exercises where you need to be kind of focused on what you're doing. So I got into it and I tripped so much on those double unders and it frustrated the crap out of me to the point where I was literally like screaming, what the fuck is happening out loud while I was training? And I got through that AMRAP and I was really disappointed in myself. I was really frustrated with my performance and I was really disappointed in how I did because I was tripping so much on the double unders. And it wasn't because I'm not fit enough. It's because I couldn't get my mind out of my ass and out of the gutter in order to make stuff happen. Because I was too busy being anxious, feeling sorry for myself, and putting that mental focus where it doesn't need to be. I was being unproductive with my mindset. Now, in that moment, I couldn't go back in time. I couldn't go back to the beginning of that AMRAP and change things. But what I could do is change my mindset moving forward and remember that I am in control of my thoughts. My thoughts are not in control of me. They are my thoughts. The anxiety is caused by me. I am controlling it. So I can cause it to go away as well. So yeah, I cried after that training session. I got a big hug from my husband because I needed it. I was super sweaty, so shout out to him because he was going out to fly drones with his buddy. So I guess you really don't need to be, fresh for that. But I tell you all of this, not so you could be like, oh no, Caitlin, I'm so sorry. I would never ask for pity. I don't need your pity. I have enough from myself. I'm telling you this so that you can see that this is the reality. This is the reality of the journey. You're going to have shitty workouts. You're going to have shitty days. You're going to have really good days. You're going to have really good workouts. You're going to have all right workouts. You're going to have all right days. You're going to have some days that you wish you could erase from your memory because they're so horrific. But every single one of those days, the good, the bad, the ugly, the amazing, they all come with a lesson. And it's up to you to learn and grow from each experience. So what I'm trying to tell you is that if you had a bad workout today, if you had a really fucking shitty day, cool, move on. Our life is really short and we ain't got time for a bad day. And just because I had a really bad moment this morning didn't mean that I needed to have a bad day today. My coach, Eric, says something, and I just said it. We don't have time for a bad day. And when you really think about it, we don't, because life is so precious and it can end and change so quickly. And I think that a lot of us forget that. And I know that I'm guilty of forgetting it sometimes. But when you can keep that perspective in mind, it really helps you to be able to maximize every moment that you have. So many of us are so worried about the past or so worried about the future that we forget to actually live and enjoy the life that we have right now. Tomorrow isn't promised. It isn't. And I know that's morbid, and I know some people don't want to hear that, but it's the reality. So what are you going to do right now to make your life worth it? Don't get to the end of your life and realize you ran out of time. Because I haven't been there, but that sounds like a really shitty thing. So like I said, this morning's training session was crap. And that's okay, because tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm going to have another training session. I'm going to have another opportunity to get better. And just because today's training session was crap didn't mean that I didn't get better. Because I definitely did. Because I showed up for myself and I executed. I did what I could given the circumstances that I had. And I'm moving forward. And today was an incredible day. I got a lot of stuff done with the business. We got packages out. I had a really great PT session. I spent some really nice time outside. I spent some good quality time with my husband. I had an amazing energy drink. I had a Ghost Sour Strip energy drink. Phenomenal. And I filmed a lot of vlog for you guys. I got another YouTube video up. So I had a fucking great day. And just because I had one shitty moment doesn't mean that the day was bad. So go out today and do one thing that's going to take you one step closer to where you want to be.